Hello everybody, I would like to give a tutorial on how to create a login page for a website. I have a demonstration of the end result of the whole process of creating the login page. Uh, we have a registration page where we'll store the user's information and save it into a database, and then we'll use that the information saved to log into a page. So right now we're just going to register information. So the information was registered. Now we're in the user login page, and we'll try logging in with that information we just registered. The password I used was 12345. So we're able to log in here, and we can. There are some features here. Like whatever's after the login page could be anything that you want to restrict anybody from accessing other than the people who are allowed to log in. In my case, this was just an example. Like you can change the color of the heading here, or the text here. Welcome John Doe. Here it's in blue, and we can change it to red or green. So we also have a logout option here. So the technologies we're going to need are NetBeans IDE, which is an integrated development environment. It has all these programming languages, features. It enables you to write programs in it, and we're also going to need to download XAMPP, which is a server, allows you to connect to a database. This is the control panel, and when you start all these modules here, you'll be able to access the features of the server. And here there are shortcuts to XAMPP and NetBeans. You just have to, when you download them, I think they automatically just show up. So there's that. I'm going to walk through quickly on the steps of how to create a login page for a website. You first need the registration form, where you collect the user's information, and then the processing of a page, or the form, or rather the processing file, because you don't actually see the process. So the first step we're going to do in this tutorial is create a registration form, and the next step we're going to do is to process the information to the database. That will be the second tutorial. The third tutorial will be to create the login form and process the login information, which will be trying to match the information inserted in the login page, and matching it to the registration information that was saved. And then if everything, if the process goes through, will allow access to pages that were restricted by the login page. So we're going to get into right now in this tutorial to create a registration form. um, we're going to go here to new project, PHP application. We're going to name this website login. Next, says project URL is not valid. Okay. The problem here is like I spaced it. It shouldn't be spaced out. And then we go to next, and then finish. So here's the website login project, and the source files there's an index page. We'll rename the index page to register, and in the register page we're going to create the form that will allow the user to input their information. Okay, so we're going to try and run it, and since we changed the default index page, we're going to have to rename it to what we had changed it to, which is register. And then we're going to use Firefox. Okay, so the first field has been created and everything works fine. So we're going to create another field of last name, and we'll create another field for the email. Okay, my computer froze, so we're just going to have to wait for a few seconds for it to come back. It shouldn't take long. Okay, so it's back. And then we'll create the password. Here we'll name this password1, and then the next field we'll name it password2, but this will be the confirmation field. Confirm password2 here. And then we'll create a submit button. Okay, so we can check our progress here. Okay, so all the fields have been created, all the fields that we need to collect the user's information. We're going to now we're going to create a heading here. We should have done this earlier, but we'll just create it now. Registration page. Okay, and we're going to create the form a little bit, make it look a little bit better, and we're going to use CSS styles to do that. We're going to put this the body into a container, or rather just below the contents in the body into a container. And we'll just name it container. Let's cut and paste the closing tag. And here we can reference the container and give it some properties. We can use the padding left. And put it at 10%. And we'll also use another container. We'll also add a feature of the width to 100%. Okay, so we've made it look a little bit presentable and more clear. Next, we're going to make the forms sticky. Like, for instance, if the submit button was entered and there was some incorrect information, we don't want to lose all this information. Like, if I was to write something here, like the information I just submitted like disappeared. Now we want it to stick so that the user doesn't have to repeat information if something did not go wrong. So we do that by making the form sticky. Okay, so basically this value says we used PHP in the HTML, and this code says that if the button submit is pressed and not empty, post first name, which is the name of the field. So if it's not empty, we should print out what what that information is, and we can check to see if it works here. You can see here it's sticky now, and we're going to do that for all these other fields. So I'll just copy paste this part of the code to save time. Okay, I'll just change some information here, like this should reference the last name field, and also the value here should reference that. Email, for the email field we're going to we're going to have to validate the information provided, because we don't want um, we don't want emails that are not valid. So we use a filter variable to validate the email. In this case, post email is what the, the value will be if it's not empty, and that's what we need to validate. So we'll just the first process will be to sanitize it. Sanitize email. And the next process would be to validate it. Okay, so once, if these conditions are met, like if the submit button was pressed and the email was not empty, so we're going to filter the variable which is post email, the information the user entered. Anything with post is something the user um, initiated. In this case, post is the email information, so we filter sanitize it, and then once we sanitize it, we say if this filter variable is valid. By validating it, we produce a result. In our case, would be to produce uh, the same email that was valid. We actually print it. Okay, so for the password, the password should be straightforward. Um, and not empty password. Print password. And this should also be straightforward. The confirm password, if you set post submit and not empty posts. Here we need to add it as password 1 because that's the name of this password 1 right here. So we change that to password 1, and here too, and here we'll use password 2. Okay, so so all these information should be sticky right now. The fields should be sticky. So let's try and test and see if they're all sticky. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, so all the information is sticky right now. And then next stage, we're going to um, write some code that will send the information to the registration process. So here we're just going to make sure that everything entered in the form is valid information to be processed. And okay, so we needed to also we need to also add like some errors just in case the user doesn't add information. So this is basically a prompt. There are some syntax errors here, but this is basically a prompt in case the submit button was pressed, and actually this should be empty, and the post here was empty, meaning that the field was empty. It should give us this response: please enter your first name. So let's try and remove first name. Okay, so there was a syntax error on line 41. Okay, we need to take this out. So here we have our response: please enter your first name. Okay, so we need to do that for the rest of these fields. We can just copy paste. Here we have last name. Please enter your last name. Email. Please enter your email. Password. Password 1. Please enter your password. And here should be password 2. Please confirm your password. Okay, so these should give us like prompts in case any of the fields have not been filled. Now we're going to process the information provided, but first we need to include some variables to help us manage the code. You know, like some of the codes here, they're long, like so. So we just need to add a variable that will indicate to us, like there's a, like for instance in the case of email here, there is like the email is valid. So email valid is equals to true, and then at the top here we'll make it false. So if that condition triggers a true, we know that the email is working. So we're going to add here email valid true is equals to false. So I forgot to add the PHP tags, so I'll just add the PHP tags. So email valid, we'll make it false, and then the condition will make it true. So that if the condition changes it, we're going to use it. So we're going to write the information, we're going to write the code that will process the information. We can also use a shortcut to add there the fields that that the user entered information on, rather than writing this whole. Password 2, it should be 1. You know what? I think I made a mistake here. This should actually be closed, and we should have no empty here, not empty. So we'll just do it the usual way. Okay, so there's okay. Let's see where the problem was. And empty password 2. So if this condition is met, we're going to set cookies. No, actually we need to check whether the passwords match. So if we also need to check if the email is valid. So if email valid, and if password 1 is equals to password 2. So if these conditions are met, it means all the information is good to go. We're going to set cookies. First cookie, we'll call it first name. Here we're going to reference it as first name. So we'll just copy these for all the fields. First name, last name, first name, last name, email, and password. And these should not be variables, but I'm not sure if they should have a quotation mark, but let's just see the progress and see like if the cookies have actually been set. Okay, on line 52. Okay, so here we needed to put we needed to put them in quotations, or there would be like the the, the program would think it's a constant because there are no quotation marks. But let's try again. I think the problem should be solved. Line 55. Okay, this should be password 1. We don't need to set a cookie for password 2, because if password 1 equals to 2, then we just need 1. We need to reference 1 only, since we know they match. But the cookies should be set. Now I use Firefox browser because they have a a feature here that can allow you to look at the cookies in real time. So here the cookies here, John Doe, and this was the password. We can actually delete them and submit it again, just to make sure that they were not there previously. Okay, so submit it, and the cookies show up. So we've set these cookies, they're stored in the browser. So this information is stored in the browser, but it's temporary. Although it can help us process the registration page. So yeah, the registration information. So the next step we're going to have to do is create a new web page for the registration process. And we're just going to give like a heading here, registration process, and we're going to link um, or rather redirect. We're going to redirect the user to we'll redirect the user to the registration process once all these conditions are met. So registration process .php, and I just put it in a variable, the name of the file, and we'll use the header function to actually execute the code. Redirect, and then here else we're going to print your passwords do not match. Please try again. So basically, if these passwords don't match, the user will get this information, this response. But if they match, these cookies will be set, and after they have been set, the page will redirect to here, the registration process. So let's see if the code works. I'm going to delete all of these first, so I can test whether the password error response works. So I'll just change the password here to 123, and here 1234. Your passwords do not match. Please try again. So so the error message works, and Let's see if the redirect works, if everything works well. Yeah, so everything works fine there. So that's the first step, creating the registration page. The next tutorial will be the registration process. And thank you for watching.